All right, guys, we'll start on time with the lightning talks because we got a total of 30 minutes with 5 talks. The nature of lightning talks, they're 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, they get cut off. There are in general no questions, except if, of course, the lightning talk allows it from the time perspective, but 5 minutes is just too short. With no further ado, I'm gonna give the mic to you. You can turn it on.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk about, I'm Esther Brunner, working at ZÜRICH, a local user-centered design agency. And I want to show you a trick we use to streamline view definitions for responsive web design. The problem with complex responsive websites is that often the optimal view requires not only the design to be affected, but also the behavior. CSS alone won't do the trick. We need JavaScript. But this leads us to a further problem that we have to define breakpoints redundantly in JavaScript and in CSS. So we need something to bridge this problem. There are comprehensive JavaScript libraries out there to respond to all sorts of view changes. Respond.js is just one example, but you're still required to define the breakpoints twice. A second time either in JavaScript or in HTML via class names or data attributes. And often these libraries require further libraries like jQuery or Scepter. So we choose another way. We wanted the regular way to define views in CSS as we, and I guess you, always did. We give the views descriptive names as the content of the body after pseudo element. I usually give them names like desktop and tablet, though they are sometimes misleading. The next step in JavaScript, we need a few lines of JavaScript. It's just about 50 lines. And all it does is get the content of the body after pseudo element, listen to DOM content loaded and resize events, and trigger a custom view change event whenever the name or the breakpoint is crossed. So this is the core method we use for this. The benefits of this approach are you define the views for responsive web design only once and in the right place in CSS. Avoiding errors and making your code easier to maintain. And it works in all modern browsers, luckily the same as those browsers that support media queries. And there's no dependency on JavaScript. And a further benefit is on pages with a lot of JavaScript, having each script listen to the resize event individually can impose a significant performance penalty. Many scripts don't need to know the specific viewport size, only which view is actually in use. Yeah, and we call this tool Untitled, and we make it available today for everybody. And let me show you. This is the simplest example I could think of. you have a view indicator in the bottom right corner. If there's a class def on the body, it won't be shown on the, in production, but it still works. You get events whenever the view is changed. So that's it. Feel free to contact me. I'm Ebro 76.
So we'll set up quickly the next one. Sorry for the sounds. We'll fix that.
Oh. Yeah, I did. Which one? F11 on Windows. Ah, sorry, I'm a Windows.
Oh, it's not.
Whatever, it's fine.
You ready?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My talk is about workflow. I'm from the Netherlands, and my talk is working with clients in Zurich as a Dutch freelance web designer / developer. So my name is Menno Pieters. I'm 32, and I'm a web designer developer specialized in responsive web design, and I work a lot with MODX CMS. My company is Any Screen Size, and I have a blog, Design From Within, and on Twitter you can see there. So the problem. My biggest client, my favorite client, is SecureSafe, a company here in Zurich. Well, this is the website, and we're still working on it a lot. But they're in Zurich, and well, I'm not. I live here. That's my house, my garden. The coffee shop is here, but it's just out of the picture. But this is the problem, right? Distance. And well, I found out with working with them, and I never met them until yesterday. I need structure and communication, and how do you do that? So I use some tools. I'll go quickly because I have no time. This is Trello. You don't see the full picture now, but there, it's amazing. It's free, and it's like a to-do list organizing tool. It works on mobile, on anything. It's really good, responsive. And each chunk or each element we need to do is one item. And within the item, you can have a discussion. They can add files. They can vote on it. You can create a discussion based on each little item. And as you can see, there are little icons, and you can assign certain people to certain tasks. It's just a management tool, of course, but it's really useful and it's free. Really nice. So this is the most useful for me. I use Skype, of course, to just talk with them and see them. I like the framework foundation. I use that a lot as well. And I also like that I can show them the documentation. They're not really technical, but when they want to know how it works, I can at least show the basics of it. I like it a lot. I use as a CMS MODX. I think it's really, really powerful. It's not that well known, but it's really, really good. It gives you a lot of freedom. GitHub for version control. And SAS lately, since I used Foundation, it made my life a lot easier. But basically my workflow is a little bit like this. I recently tried to stop using Photoshop. It's not working all the time, but sometimes. At first you just brainstorm and you have a session, and yeah, if it's a client in Holland, I try to meet them, but of course in Zurich it's not possible, then well, Skype or you Google Hangouts, and we just brainstorm a little and try different things. You sketch, design, wireframe, however you do it. And I use Dropbox to simply exchange the files, keep it in sync with my client. It's really, really useful. And once we have a basic idea, I already set up the development site. And I usually do this online. I just create a development copy of the site, and they can start adding content already. So I usually say, like, just pick a Word document or a Google Docs document and type out your content. And put it in there already. And it's just a white page with black Arial text, but at least the content is there, the content that they have. Then we finalize the designs. Once this is of course a big step. I just summarized it. A lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, but we finally get like a basic design. Maybe in a wireframe, maybe it's Photoshop. I don't know yet. It depends. But they have the content in MODX or online somewhere, and we have a basic idea of what it should look like. Once I know all the features that the site needs, I can start customizing the system. So online on the dev site, I add all the features and SEO stuff and all that stuff. And finally, once that's done, we can start finishing the whole design of the site. And then we move dev to live at a certain point, and then the best part, send the invoice. And well, that's that. But this was 2 days ago. I met them for the first time after 2 years. And this is the most productive day I've ever had. Nothing can beat this. So if you can meet your clients, that's what I learned 2 days ago. We did so much work just by putting post-its on things, and it's such a good day. So, that's perfect. Thank you very much.
Where's my mouse? I hate this. It's the wrong setup. What's the best way to do? Can somebody help me really quickly?
What do you want?
Ja, ich will einfach das umtauschen. Die Fenster. Ja, besser. So, yep. Okay. So my name is Julie. I'm a designer, developer, something living in Munich, and I want to ask you to make the internet a better place, and also make money doing it. So we all talk about responsive websites, but we don't talk about responsive emails. And sometimes you get a lot of crap like this, and you're like, I'm not going to read this, it's too small. This is really important because actually I don't lie on my couch surfing the internet on my phone, but I read emails on the subway and elevators and whatnot. And you might think, well, maybe you shouldn't subscribe to junk like that. But I do because I buy stuff online. And you should care because actually email drives much more sales than search, than social, than display ads. But most of the time, people don't care about email. I'm neurotic, so I care. And I sign up for this stuff because actually I do want to receive these offers. And sometimes they are actually quite effective. So I'm actually looking to visit my sister in Tokyo, and I got this a few days ago. 750 euros, yes, because otherwise I would have to pay 1,500, which is twice as much. And I feel like maybe they know me because they're also sending me offers to go to Vienna. Maybe you want to go to jQuery, Conf. Or in a couple of weeks is From the Front in Bologna. So it's like, Julie, we know where you want to go, which is why I sign up for this junk. Some companies actually do really good design, like MetaLab is actually one of my favorite consultancies, but the emails they send are awful. I don't view images by default, but also this is way too tiny, so I'm never going to read this. One of my favorite words in German is Augenkrebs, which is like eye cancer. And so this is for me Augenkrebs, because they're trying to make it responsive, but it's so ugly. What's with this stupid like empty space on the left? And it's like, for me, it's a fail. Because what I tend to do is actually read emails first on my phone, and if I want to, read it later on the desktop. I don't delete it, I don't archive it. But this, I don't want to do it. It's actually a great email list, though, actually called Hack Design, which you should check out if you're a developer. Here's a better example. It's from Litmus, but I still find it to be a little bit weak in terms of layout, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. I created an open source project called Antwort, which lets you basically make responsive emails, and the big difference is that we changed the layout. I don't just make the font bigger, I don't just take the Y email and squish it into a giant text desert or Textwüste, as they say in German. I actually changed the layout. So, one thing that's really important is that when you're building responsive emails, you have to code like it's 1999. You got to use tables. And the reason why you got to do that is you got to support old clients like Outlook. And you will not believe it, but for many sites, you have more people on Outlook than you do on Gmail. So very quickly, this looks something like this. You have a table for layout. You have 2 columns. I put a class on there called force column or force call. And it's actually quite simple. You make a media query. You say display block. So it's actually not that hard. So I don't know why people are not doing it, and you better start doing it, because I will not buy stuff from you otherwise. What's challenging actually is, before you'll see that I have column 1 and column 2. What goes in there? Just my email and text? Nope, you got to wrap it with a table. You got to wrap it with a table because that's how you clear stuff. And if you have an image and the image is larger than your text, then it won't clear properly. And if you look at the clear fix hack, which all of us use, it actually works using tables. So you basically do the same sort of thing. I'm not going to explain the code because, yeah, I don't feel like it. I'd rather show you stuff. So if I can get this working. So I have this email here, and it has basically sort of 6 columns. We had a keynote speaker, so we had an odd number. But if we shrink it, we still have him perfectly aligned with the other ones. More or less. The spacing's not quite perfect, but that's basically what it does. And to go back to my slide, which doesn't work, it's on GitHub, so you guys should definitely check it out. And yeah, report any bugs or whatnot, and make prettier emails. I think that's it. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
Yeah. So, hello everybody. Did you notice I'm in a browser? So yeah, it's an HTML presentation, and you, of course, you saw it in those 2 days or in internet like 1 year ago. There's a lot of presentation doing in HTML. So, oops. So just about me, I'm working for Antistatic, so a web agency. And by the way, we are looking for designers and developers. So we came out with this line. So we found there's a lot of HTML presentation on GitHub. And they're good, and people cannot put it on Speaker Deck or SlideShare. And in June, we just realized that they released a new API. So we came with this solution that is Slide Deck. It's simply a directory, will be a search engine, so in a few days. Actually, we already are online, so we are on the website. I can show you. So we're indexing presentation from GitHub, just seeking with those keywords like Reveal.js or Impress.js, and then we figure out if it's a presentation, and if it's a presentation, then we add it in our database. So yeah, what can we find as a presentation? I don't know. like Angular and Rails. Yeah. And if you like it, you can comment it, or you can go back to GitHub to give a star. And I get back to the presentation here. So we just launched it yesterday, so it's not ready, like it's a really alpha. So we need your feedback. So if you have HTML presentation, please put it on GitHub if you want to share it, and our bot will index it. And I have time because I spoke too fast, but we can see there's a lot of people on the site right now. If you can increase the number, it'd be nice. So that's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Ja? Check, 1, 2. Ja. Einen schönen guten Morgen. Nee, das ist schon vorbei. I'm going to talk in English from now on. My name is Jay, and I'm going to talk about the importance of real device testing, as in stuff that sits on your desk, actually. Not filmed by a camera, remote controlled, not simulated. Because only with real device testing you are able to do a real performance check and a true usability check. With simulators or emulators, you face a number of limitations. You definitely have a huge performance difference. The simulator is running from the computer's resources, so on the CPU, and it will leverage the GPU and the computer's RAM, which tends to be much bigger than on a device, actually. You won't have accelerometer, GPS, camera, or other hardware. You won't be able to use touchscreen or gestures, with some exceptions. And it can be really difficult to really simulate real cell tower data performance and connections. We got a ton of device quirks and browser quirks. We heard that very often already. And you won't have device fonts in your simulator. So I don't know how many of you know that there is no Arial on Android prior 2.4. There's only Droid. So if you design something that bases on Arial, it's not there. And you would never know because the simulator will show Arial because it's available on your computer. You have general display-specific differences. I had encountered on iOS 5.1 a really strange SVG bug where on the iPad 3 the SVG rendered really blurry, whereas with the same iOS 5.1 at that time, it rendered correctly on an iPad 2. So different hardware, different outcome. And you will have micro differences even between viewports of e.g. like 360 versus 400 pixels. So like only 400 pixel differences maybe you add a little bit of minimal space and you will see it rendered differently. And this stuff can simply not be simulated on the desktop or in simulators or emulators. So you might ask yourself on which devices to test. This is an average list, okay? And there's a reason for that. Because it definitely does not represent your specific project or scenario. It goes with all possible disclaimers. This could be totally different when we're not in the EU. For instance, in Asia or in the US, you will find, or even in the UK, you'll find completely different devices. And it's just, its primary reason to exist is to open your eyes on the topic because it gives you an idea on the problem. This list shows like an average of 15 to 19 devices that you need to own to cover the average scenario out there. Again, average. Not to be handed to your boss as a wish list, but clearly showing that it might be a little bit difficult to get all these devices in your hands. So how do you get your hands on an ever-changing list of 10, 20, 30 devices? This is where so-called open device labs come to the rescue. These are awesome places by awesome people that simply gather devices and share them for free. And you can go there and test your stuff. And I encourage you to do so. How do you find the closest ODL? Back in January, together with my friends Christian Schäfer and Anselm Hannemann, I created opendevicelab.com. It's a central directory that helps developers to locate, contribute, and to sponsor so-called open device labs. The site is geolocation enabled and helps you locate the nearest lab to your position. And it allows you to filter by device manufacturers, if that is something you're looking for. Of course, the site is responsive. I mean, it would really be a pity if it would not look beautiful on cross devices. And you can leave comments and rate the labs, which helps the labs and the sponsors to check out if the lab is real and there and whatnot, and if it's valid for donations. We also feature a coarse and JSON-P-enabled API that you can leverage to pull the data out and help communicate the idea of the ODL movement. There's documentation on the site as well. This is an old screenshot, as we will announce the 70th Open Device Lab across the world. Today, this raises the number of shared devices to 1,100 devices. And there are already 3 ODLs in Switzerland. I need to speed up. One is here in Zurich, one is in Geneva, and one in Lausanne from the nice guys from Antistatic, the previous speaker. If you want to open an ODL, go to labup.org. And that's it.
Thank you very much for every lightning speak talker. We'll set up quickly the next speaker and we'll continue in about 2-3 minutes. Thank you.